also. So I request Mr. Kulkarni to start.
Thank you. It's okay now. Thank you everyone and very good afternoon. I think this panel is the only one which is between us and the lunch as of now. So we'll try and I had a pretty detailed presentation, but I would like to skip some of the things, and I would like to first thank the ISGF and the organizers for having invited us. And I'm humbled to be in the presence of all the dignitaries on the dais, and I would like to begin this presentation by uh, the slide. And the IT team, yeah, yeah, there should be a presentation with the name.
Once they have the presentation ready, the green button to.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, it should be in the name of Sumesh. Yeah. So yeah, I would just start with the numbers for the time being. So we are at the cusp of a change in the way we are looking at electrification, and definitely, I think there are quite a few drivers to it. So one of the key drivers is the international, the pact with the Paris Agreement, and the pressures which all the countries have put on themselves voluntarily through the nationally determined contributions on achieving a path to a low carbon economy. And hence, with that in mind, I think the electrification of public transport as well as personal transport plays a large role in this agenda. And having said that, so if you look at the numbers today, we do see that we have gone a good way in accelerating this agenda. We keep hearing from both at the national and state level what are the key things that are happening on the EV level, on the policies, on the regulations, on the standards. There are quite a plethora of stakeholders who are taking interest in it, and hence we can see, we assume, and it's our analysis, that there is a huge potential of investment which is going to come in, around 27 billion, and also actually estimated of 11 billion only in the electricity sector based on the demand, projected demand of EVs. We happen to look at the numbers. We look at 15% penetration by 2030, and by 2040 this number has to increase. Basically, what we are trying to do is also be self-reliant. India as a country needs to be self-reliant and not based on export economy or import economy, sorry. So globally, incentives have been a key growth. We look at California, China, Japan, Germany, and Finland, and we look at the policies, tax holidays, and tariff, utilities, what needs to be there on the services side, what has to happen at the distribution utility side, and also the indirect and direct fiscal incentives, which are all required for driving this EV. And we see that, all these countries, wherever it has taken forward, this is something which has happened all through. So if you come to the India policies on electric mobility, we started in 2010 with the ministry sort of warming up to EVs and what needs to be done. There were a lot of stakeholder consultations, and then 2012 We had the National Electric Mobility Mission Plan. In 2015, we had the FAME. 2016, we had, again, we had a cell specially created for this, having a focused cell to, in fact, drive this agenda at the center. And in 2017, we saw that there were a lot of subsidies which were, doled out for the charging infrastructure, and 2018 and has seen a lot of clarity which has been brought out in the kind of spaces where there was less clarity in between with regards to standards, with regards to what has to happen on the charging infrastructure, how the various stakeholders are going to come about, and who are the kind of drivers in the states who can actually put up their plans and then take those subsidies. So all the clarity which actually happened was in the last 1 or 2 years. I would not go too much into detail on the FAME 2 scheme, but overall I can say that 366 crores has been put forth for a phased approach plan, and around 8,000 crores for the demand side of incentives, and 1,000 crores on charging infrastructure. And this has been led by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency through the Department of Heavy Industries, actually doling out the incentives. And there is a plethora of incentives for two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and four-wheelers, which comes under the larger bracket of thing. And the phase manufacturing plan envisages the timeline basically to, by 2021, we should have all the components. What we have done is we've broken out the items which are required in an electric vehicle and seen when do they actually be, India will be ready with those domestically, and hence we see that by 21 or the next 2 years is when we would have substantial amount of domestic capability in actually manufacturing these and then coming up with our very own EV. Again, breaking up by what happened, and I'll skip the other slide, but this slide actually talks about what happened every month-wise, and this actually gives a good feeling on what actually the Ministry of Power and how it has been driving this policy and implementation. So in Jan, we saw the launch of technical study for charging infrastructure. In April 2018, we saw the MOP clarification on EV charging. Then, these are basically, there was also a BE set up a project management unit, which we are actually at EY leading. What's happening is we are receiving proposals from all across the states of India and for the deployment of charging infrastructure. And MOP issues the revised guidelines, which again was something which there were several of the non-clarity areas which were clarified in this. Coming to the states, while a lot has been happened on the center states, and I would humbly thank the UK government, and Dan is over here. We did a set of policies and roadmaps for 4 of the states. And several other states followed suit, and some of the states have come up with incentives for manufacturing of electric vehicles or their supply chain, and some of the states have given land to these estates. Like Karnataka is one such example, and Delhi, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, and I wouldn't go much in detail. And this, I think, the organizers will be anyway sharing to all your benefits, and basically this is something which we realize that every states are also pulling up their sleeves to get this done. So I think at a national level, we know that the land and collaboration, I think these are the 2 main things which need to come together. Land is the prime need for charging infrastructure, and collaboration is something which we all require across all stakeholders to get this thing done. I think I'll stop at that. More of these thoughts and POVs are already available on the internet, which you can have a look at. But I would return back to the moderator.
Thanks, Ashish. I have a couple of questions on your presentation. Starting with, you mentioned that the total EV penetration in India is going to increase from 5% in 25 to around 65%. Yeah. So what does that include? I mean, are we talking about?
So I think primarily it will be driven by public transport, which will happen because the variability. What we want to do is to have the variabilities reduced. And when you look at the public transport way the things are and aggregation models which are happening, which can actually reduce the price of electric buses, I think more and more such the state transport and the municipalities and the smart cities, and we would be looking at the public transport and the fleets. I think those are the two things which actually will drive this entire thing in the near future, and then it will be followed by personal transport is what we think.
Right. No, that's a great point that you mentioned about fleets and municipalities. We, as a research house, also believe that fleets would be the first ones to electrify on a mass scale in India, and obviously municipalities would be the key drivers for e-buses, at least over here. What are your thoughts on two-wheelers, three-wheelers?
Yeah, I think for the last mile connectivity, and actually we are doing this for. Interestingly, the pollution control boards of India are interested in this two-wheeler and three-wheeler because they see that they are the ones who will reduce the congestion problems, and from the air pollution perspective, that is where the pollution control boards, and we are happy to share that in Maharashtra we are doing it for Bombay, Nagpur, and Pune. These are the three cities where we have interventions. But I would say that the two-wheeler and three-wheeler have a lot more barriers than the four-wheelers, and there is the business models need to come in very quickly with regards to who will be paying for what, and again whether it has to be docked or whether it has to be dockless. And we have seen that the Paris is one such example where we can have dockless two-wheelers, whereas Netherlands and other countries it is docked. So I think there are quite a few variants and unknowns as of now. I think by the end of, in another 2-3 months, we will have completed our study and we will give you some insights into successful business models.
Interesting.
But you know more than me because, and you're asking questions to us. So
that's the beauty of this.
Yeah,
I
the
can
moderation.
ask- I'm the moderator and I can ask all the difficult questions. So one last question to you, Ashish. So in your presentation, you also talked about various countries and various states in India particularly, and you touched upon Maharashtra. So are there any particular states, are there any particular policies that you want to bring up, which are like, state of the art, or that you would like to see grow in India?
Yeah, I think it's an incentive structure which is differing from states to states. It's more about collaborations which need to come in. So I think you will see that and Dan will speak about it, and he has more insights when it comes to these states and what he's done at FCO. But I think it will be more of a collaborative way in which Karnataka has taken forward. The Department of Transport, the State Nodal Agency for Electricity, and the Electricity Department all have come together into and doing something. And also, it requires the same thing on the OEM side. So, if you look at the Tatas, they have a whole ecosystem of they have the Discom with them, they have they are the auto manufacturers, and they have Tata Power, Tata's BP Solar, which is into solar-based electricity, I think, and then they can come all together and then give a good solution to the public. I think it's collaborations which need to come up. Karnataka is a very good example of
Collaboration, public, private,
Public,
and
private, and
vertical
yeah,
integration in some
yeah,
sense as
yeah.
well. Okay, that's great.